Hello, all. My name is Mohammed. I'm from Group 6, the Nuclear Radiation Group. First, we have the table of contents. We're going to start off with the introduction, then go into what is nuclear radiation, then the Fukushima nuclear disaster, then the effects and safety precautions related to nuclear radiation. Nuclear radiation is the energy emitted from atoms through particles or electromagnetic waves. Nuclear radiation comes from natural sources and human activities with both benefits and risks. High exposure can cause serious health effects, environmental damage, and industrial hazards. People encounter small amounts of radiation daily from water, air, medical treatments, and their own bodies, with some areas having higher levels due to geological factors. Processes like mineral extraction, fossil fuel combustion, and the use of radioactive substances increase radiation exposure. Long-term or excessive radiation exposure can damage living things, disrupting ecosystems and raising risk of cancer and cellular damage.
Now I will be talking about the Fukushima nuclear disaster. It was on March 11, 2011, and it all started from a 9.0 magnitude earthquake occurring for 5 minutes. Now, this earthquake, emergency systems became active. Some reactors did shut down, but nothing happened yet. Now, from this earthquake, a tsunami occurred. So the first wave didn't do as much, but the second wave measured 124 feet, the height of a 12-story building. Now, power was lost and reactors were heating up drastically. Emergency services were called, but they were unknown of the boiling off of water inside the reactor. There was still a nuclear emergency in check for safety precautions. There was a meltdown bound to happen and explosions were likely. So now the evacuation started with individuals 2 miles from the nuclear plant, and even the older workers offered to take over the jobs of younger individuals working, knowing there may be an explosion. So the reactors became in critical condition, and even though they attempt to release steam to vent, putting these workers at risk, no one knew that inside of the reactors it was melted and going to burn up. So the critical levels were seen, and now individuals within 6 miles were activated. The hydrogen gas built up and exploded the reactors. So seawater was pumped immediately to help, but then the water started to be contaminated and they wanted that to stop. But the boss of the power plant believed that a meltdown would be worse than contaminated water. Now, individuals within 12.4 miles were evacuated, so 50,000 households were evacuated. The soil, water, and air were contaminated. Now, there were no immediate deaths, but long term effects. So, even as of right now, people would be diagnosed with cancer because of this nuclear disaster. Now, this disaster resulted to a permanent quarantine zone and global changes in energy policies.
Hello, I'm talking about the effects of nuclear radiation in general settings and medical settings and the safety measures in place to protect both patients and healthcare workers. Exposure to nuclear radiation comes greatly in the form of nuclear medicine. Exposure in this field comes from radiopharmaceuticals and imaging procedures like PET scans, which emit high energy gamma rays. These exposures can have serious health consequences, ranging from short-term radiation sickness to long-term risks such as cancer. To minimize these dangers, strict radiation safety measures are in place, which include constant monitoring of radiation levels, enforcing dose constraints, ensuring protective equipment is used correctly, etc. Additionally, proper training and education for medical staff are essential in maintaining safety standards and reducing accidental exposure. Understanding these risks and precautions is very key to ensuring both effective medical care and radiation safety. It's also crucial to recognize the long-term effects of low-level radiation exposure, which could accumulate over time, especially for healthcare workers who are regularly in contact with radiation. Mitigating this risk means strict occupational safety guidelines are followed, including regular health monitoring and radiation exposure assessments. Medical staff are also pretty encouraged to rotate duties and limit their time in areas with high radiation levels. Personal dosimeters, which basically track the cumulative radiation exposure, are worn by workers to ensure they don't exceed safety limits. These measurements are part of a comprehensive approach to ensuring the safety of everyone involved in these environments. In conclusion, nuclear radiation refers to the energy released from unstable atomic nuclei, which can pose serious health risks depending on the type of exposure and level of exposure. The Fukushima disaster, which was triggered by the 2011 earthquake and tsunami, highlighted the dangers of nuclear power in extreme and uncontrolled conditions, which led to widespread contamination and long-term devastating environmental concerns. While safety precautions such as containment structures, radiation shielding, evacuation plans are critical in minimizing risks, exposure to high levels of radiation can lead to acute health effects like mentioned before. Understanding nuclear radiation's risk and implementing rigorous safety measures remain very vital to protecting both human health and the environment in the era of nuclear energy. Thank you.